On that note, I will hand over the mic to Samir Pitalwalla. And Samir is from Google. He's the head of gaming for all of APAC, and he has actually also been a content and media founder himself. He's also a national award-winning producer, and he's told me not to mention that he holds a bunch of patents, but I thought I will. Over to the next panel for today, and Samir, a warm welcome to you. A huge round of applause for Samir, and I request Samir to introduce his set of panelists. Yeah.
Thank you for that, and thanks for having a full house here. So, instead of introducing everybody, I'm just going to call them on board. So, Anurag, Bisu, Rohit, and Afsar, who's right here. So, that'll be great to get started. So, it's interesting. We have actually like two batches of founders. I think that's both of you are building in video and media and audio, and both of you are building in games. Both of you are building from India to India, and in some sense you both are building from India to the world in terms of monetization. So bunch of good themes to cover. But first, what would be great is, it'll be good to start with introductions. So Rohit, you want to go first? A quick sort of background, and I think there's a historical journey with you also being at Kuku first and now running a really large business of your own. If you're comfortable sharing numbers, do that. If not, that's totally cool as well. And just a bit about that, and then we can get to questions.
Sure, yeah. First of all, thank you for having me here. Thanks to you and the Waterbridge team. So I'm Rohit. We have been building Seekho for almost 4 years now, which is a lifelong learning platform, which is more like a subscription business with almost 3 million plus subscribers. And we have proudly built a 50 million ARR business with a 50-member team. So yeah, that's about us.
Thanks. I'm Bisu, co-founder and CEO at Kuku. We are building in mobile-first premium content space. We started with audio. Now we launched in video side also. Currently we have 7.5 million active paid users. Looks like that by the end of this year we will cross Netflix subscription numbers also in India. So that's about me.
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me here. My name is Anurag. I'm the founder of Felicity Games. We're a 1.5-year-old game publisher. What that effectively means is we're not a studio. We work with smaller studios to prototype games and acquire and operate games which show commercial success. In a span of 18 months, we have tested around 30 games with around 10 studios, and we have 2 titles which are almost clocking $1 million each. Most of our revenue is from the US, as Samir mentioned, so we are a India for the world kind of a play. But yeah, that's a bit about us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Afsar, Ahmad. I'm the co-founder of Gameberry Labs. Gameberry is known generally for Ludo Star and Purchase Star. These games have around 350 million downloads across the world. We do a good 50 million plus ARR business right now. Bootstrapped, profitable, and 300 people team from Bangalore.
So let's start with you first, right? And we're going to talk about the gaming and then media both, but let's make sure that I have to tip my hat to the guys who are paying for the bills in terms of Google, but let's start with the AI question, right? So, it's pretty interesting. I was just yesterday at the office, and there was a bunch of these traditional media companies. Pretty much everybody is now looking at these new video models. They're looking at these audio models. So just like the incumbent is trying to has figured out distribution. They want to figure out creation now, because creation is also where the unlock is. Where are you using AI in the entire game pipeline? It will be great to just talk about certain use cases, because obviously it's being used in, you're using your text model, image models to, I'm assuming, create textures. But how are you fundamentally seeing things change for yourself, and where are you using it the most?
So I think our journey started 1.5 years back. We started investing a lot in how to get a lot of things done through AI itself. Especially the obvious things, like when you start thinking about art content, that's the place you start with, and then you move to user acquisition, graphics, and things like that. I think that was the beginning point, and in the last 1 year's journey, I think we have made a significant progress. Now there is a game that is coming out which has all its villages created through AI. And it does not mean that it's completely driven through AI. It means 80% of the work is done by AI and 20% is probably done by the artist in the team. The same goes with marketing creatives as well. The 80% work is done by the AI, 20% is done by the internal teams. Now, what it helps is, one is you can iterate fast because of that, obviously. The second thing is you can create lot more value to the players. Imagine building 80 villages. The restriction that goes to the player is that you will slow the village down as they progress in the game. But when you have 80 villages and you're confident that in the next 3 months you're going to make it 160, then your economic and free flow for user experience and not your internal metric itself.
So when you say villages, what part of this? Is it the story, the lore, the theme, or you're procedurally generating these in sort of, Unity or whatever that you're creating? Can you define what you mean when you're saying these villages, just to get a little more
imagine,
structure?
I think game like Coin Master, I'm pretty sure most people would know about it. They have these buildings that you're creating, and one building comprises of like 5 different items, and 5 different items having their 5 different stages. So you have like 5 cross 5, 25 stages that you have to cover. And once a user covers all these 25 stages, their village is complete, right? Now for Coin Master, the challenge is till date, which is 2012 to today, like 12 years almost, right? 13 years. Uh, they have around 450 villages in it after a journey of this time, 13 years, right? Now that restricts the topmost payer in consuming the content. So the topmost payer is actually waiting for you to release 1 or 2 villages in this particular month. I was ready to pay, but you have restricted me because you are not able to generate that content.
Depth of gameplay.
Yeah. So I think that becomes unlocked because of that. That's one point where I see a lot more value from a user perspective. From internal efficiency perspective, obviously you will involve coding, you will involve it in analytics. That also we have started trying, that if we can create our own chat GPT with our own documents being there, it will be a lot more easier for us to communicate, like a PM to communicate with it and get information across the studio itself. So we have our own genie that we have created. So you can go back and ask questions. The genie will talk to you based on the data that it has seen, the analytics that it has seen in the past, and then it will keep talking to you and refine your process.
And any metrics so far which you find encouraging on the use of this?
Yes, absolutely. I think generally what would happen is the PM would sit with the analytics team, give a requirement, evaluate through that, see after 2 3 days numbers, and then again say, let's check this out as well. Now that cycle has reduced to minutes rather than hours, like days. So I think that's a significant shift from decision-making process that eventually lands up to be faster cycle, and you get benefit from that.
Rohit, when you and I spoke in the prep, it was interesting that you're using it almost to create tiny MVPs of content, testing it out rapidly. Could you elaborate on how you were using it, and you're now at a really great sort of revenue number and scaling that? So, do you mind talking a little bit, especially in the video pipeline, and also you creating faceless or rather digital avatars of creators and finding a way to scale those?
Right. So for a learning content, what matters the most is that who is basically teaching and what exactly they want to talk about, which is the real insight. Everything else can basically be replaced by AI-led or AI-enhanced creation, and that is exactly what we are trying to do. We create avatars of experts who then can just share their insights that they want to cover in a video, and then using those avatars and all sorts of tools like HeyGen, 11 Labs, and obviously ChatGPT for scripting, even GPT's image model for the thumbnails
I've never
of those
heard of
videos.
these tools. The only thing I hear is Google, Gemini, Vio, but this is all a great one. All right,
Yeah,
sorry.
so not good names to be taken in a Google event maybe.
You might as well start saying other VC names also.
so yeah, using these tools we are basically able to generate videos. How that helps is in the short term it helps us create MVPs of content, as you said, very quickly, and understand that what is it that people really want to learn, and has good demand from a business point of view.
UA? What about that? Are you using it like Afsar was? We didn't touch on. I'm going to talk to you, Anurag, about that because that's what you focus on. But what about UA? Are you using it in any form to create campaigns quickly?
So definitely, like when I say that to test a content, it's not just the content which needs to be created. It's also the thumbnails, the campaigns. The campaigns also have to be created in a way that there are multiple what we say angle testing
Yeah.
videos. So to understand what angle actually works to sell a particular type of content.
Right.
So all sorts of that stuff, and then in the longer run, obviously there's like what is limited is the number of experts who know how to create content. But if we remove the latter part, then there's unlimited number of experts who can talk about stuff that they are really good at, and this kind of content creation can actually get all those experts who don't even want to create content on Seekho and still deliver their content in the video format, which is the most loved format.
Anurag, do you want to opine on sort of how you're using this for UA and testing? Where are you kind of building and using AI? Also, because you're not actually creating any games, but actually having a bunch of studio networks, so you're hyper focused on sort of growth.
Yeah. So, I mean, user acquisition is core to gaming today. Until 2021, it wasn't. And today, iterations on which creative will land with the user is very, very important. So, at any given point of time for our titles, we have 20 to 25 new creatives being tested, on a weekly basis. And we did do that with like a 2-member team, and that's only possible because of AI, right? The second part, apart from creating, making creatives, is to kind of understand the quality of user that you're acquiring from each of these ad networks, because it's a little incestuous, as I would like to call it in gaming, wherein games acquire users from other games. So many a times, if you are running a solitaire and you are actually acquiring a user from another solitaire, they'll have great retention. But if your source is acquiring a user from a runner game, you may not have that great retention, right? So the next use that we are putting AI to is to kind of train models on the user journeys from each of the different, each of the different sources we are acquiring users from. Because ultimately we believe that the biggest lever to maximize LTV or lifetime value of a user is to personalize the game by user's intent. But in this day and age, when you press that button by saying, I don't allow the app to track me, we don't know anything about you. All we know is that you have come from some ad network. So we are blind to who you are. So the only way we can personalize a journey for you is by running some model wherein, basis your early, the way you play the game and where you're coming from, we personalize the game's, level difficulty, ad pressure, in-app purchase pricing. So that's the second place where I feel that a big leverage lies with AI, apart from making creatives.
Do you also kind of play around with this, the idea you just dump all your data into one place and just ask it questions? One of the most liberating parts I found recently was just the ability for them to come up with, these models to come up with their own synthesis and analysis, which a data analyst you would have paid a lot of money for. So have you been, given that so much of data comes from different ad networks, do you use it for that right now in terms of being able to find patterns instead of actually pulling?
I'll be honest, we try to create our own GPT, but because the questions are so nuanced, we end up going back to the analysts. So I don't think we have, we would want to get there,
Yeah.
but we haven't
And
gotten
the
there.
analyst is not telling you the questions because they want the job.
So,
Bisu, I was checking out the app. I was seeing Happily Never After, paid $2 for it and then canceled before the $6.99 subscription just because I didn't want to get paid, charge $6.99. But it's incredible about what I saw with the micro dramas. It's pretty interesting about, especially with these new video models, they lend themselves so well to these 8 seconds and 12 seconds. And now they're able to do audio as of yesterday with VO3. Are you thinking about doing all of this? Because from what I understand and having produced it's a lot of pain to produce these things at scale and at volume and to ensure performances. Are you playing around with any of those right now, thinking about that?
Using GenA.
Yeah, like these video models which are coming out, especially because of the fact that this vertical form factor is that for Kuku TV and also for Kuku FM.
So actually, like I will repeat the same thing. We also use generative AI heavily in the company. The one of the most important thing that is to consider is that user doesn't care that
You're using it.
you're using it or not. He needs the best quality. Uh, and lot of generative AI output is mediocre. Like if you talk about the creative part, like if you try to get some output from generative AI in creative side, like storytelling or images or videos, it will mix and match from the trained data, and that is not always like the best for users to consume. So you need one is that best creative guys to work on generative AI so that you get the best output from generative AI. If you are using some mediocre person to work on generative AI, then you will get the mediocre output. In the video side, surprisingly, actually we tried to use generative AI. Uh, so we have Kuku TV app where like you will get live action videos, short drama, vertical short drama, but it didn't work. Then we tried that let's reduce the cost using generative AI. Let's use the chroma green screen and we will use generative AI. We worked 2-3 titles. Actually, most of the production houses said that you are increasing our cost. So it is not there yet that we can
Audio,
use
it's
it. But yes,
figured out.
we are continuously like 10% of the titles should always use generative AI kind of thing, so that whenever that like, we get that point where we can scale the generative AI in video side, we will scale it.
And majority of your revenues are from Hindi. And when you're thinking of using these dubbing and languages, especially for audio, to regionalize this stuff, or you think right now you'd rather shoot it if you're expanding, say, into Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, etc.
So today, most of the like around 40% revenue is from Hindi, 60% from other languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, and English. I will say generative AI is doing worst job in taking in audio side actually. In English, I will say it is 99% there. In Hindi, it is 90% there. But in Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, it is, I will say 60-70% there. Like, so we can't use in audio side, but in visual side, we can use it at a lot of places like creating thumbnails, creating episodic videos and all these things.
So let's talk about monetization, right? Both of you are doing stuff from India, and generally the idea is that monetization in India is hard. I mean, Saurabh's doing a fabulous job and spoke about that. Uh, what kind of made you do this? Because the common theory was always build here, monetize globally. And it's a question to both of you. Maybe we'll start with you, Rohit. And what has your experience been so far?
So, obviously, I think it will be true for both me and Bisu, but it was not obviously very natural because we were one of the first ones to actually start charging users for content in India, which was not movies, and the way it happens is always that I heard Saurabh say that it's a combination of gut and A/B tests. So yeah, it was just like that. But in our case, one different thing was that we didn't have enough money.
Yeah, you told me you're about to die as a company before you
Yeah.
turned it on.
In the hindsight, it was fortunate that we didn't have enough money, and we actually launched monetization just 1.5 years into our journey. And of course, it started with the A/B tests and stuff, but with just one month of runway remaining, we actually rolled it out to all our new users to make enough revenue to pay the salaries of our 9-member team, and that was the biggest proof point. So yeah, it was a combination of A/B test, gut feeling, and obviously our wall against our back. Yeah.
Bisu?
Yeah, actually we started monetization in 21. Like at that time there was no Bharat product that was trying to monetize these audience. Over the time, like at that time we in first year we got 250K active paid users and we were like wow, like this is something that never happened in India.
But
People,
investor didn't say, "Arey, India chodo, move to San Francisco, now do this over
that
there."
happened after 2 years actually. But over the time we learned that in India there are a lot of people are ready to pay for content if you are providing like right value in entertainment form or in learning form, whatever. But you have to provide the right value, otherwise they will not pay. And like today, if you just see the numbers on hot, just on Geo Hotstar, more than 100 million people are paying for content on internet. If you count all the OTT players, including like audio, video, and Seekho and all these players, I think there are more than 150 million users who are paying for content on internet. So it is big market, and after UPI, like now everyone is enabled to pay on internet. So this ecosystem is going to grow very large. My estimate says that after 3 years it will go beyond 300 million in India overall.
Did you not find, Anurag, these kind of patterns for you started it, you focused on the US? Did you not ever have FOMO saying maybe I'm missing a trick of building and focusing on the local market? Or is gaming different for you?
Actually, I failed as an entrepreneur once building for India in a very similar space. So perhaps I just chose to look the other way, and the successful businesses that are being built around me. So clearly, I was not good enough. But in casual gaming, I mean, still on pure CAC to LTV, at least I'm yet to come across a game which makes money on paid user acquisition. You have to have the blessings of organic installs from Play Store and App Store for you to make money on casual gaming in India. AAA, yes, in PUBG has proven that what the outcomes can be, but those are like Hollywood productions. You need hundreds, perhaps even $1 billion to kind of build those. So I didn't have that luxury as a second-time founder, and in fact, I started bootstrapped because I don't even come from this space. So I just chose casual and like a geography where the TAM is large enough. Hopefully, as Seekho and Kuku and Iloilo set the precedent, casual gaming will also open up. So hopefully in the future.
Just take their users and start selling your games. Afsar, I'm assuming that because of just the length of time that you've been building, that the obvious choice during that time was to monetize there, and you didn't ever look back. Is that probably it, or you have a different view?
No, I think in 2017 I have seen a lot of users from Jamshedpur, from Tier 2 India, paying in our game thousands and thousands of rupees. So I had tasted the blood lot back. The only difference was I had much better tasting blood outside. So I have just prioritized it for myself, that I wanted to focus more on what was making more money at that time. I think even now today, if given a good product with a good economy, with a better design, with the right pricing, games would work in India as well. It will be a tough path, but it can monetize, it can work really well. I have seen, so there was a user in one of the game, Ludo Titan, and she was from Bangalore. She was paying 25,000 rupees every month. And we wanted to call her to office, and we checked her LinkedIn profile. We found everything about her. That okay, this is the person. She's working as an HR. This is the company, and then
Is
let's
it
go.
McKinsey? Like,
No.
where is she working that she's paying 25,000?
Not really, and it was not like a very hotshot startup company. I think it was a decent one, and she was crazy about the game. She liked it. She preferred it. So we wanted to call her to just talk to her. Okay, why are you paying so much money to us? And we would like to understand from her, like maybe refund some part of it. But she eventually dropped off. She stopped replying to us, and eventually she moved out. But I have seen it.
Move to alcohol.
No, moved. Yeah, so I think I've seen that. I continue to believe in it. That if you have the right product, if you have the right tight economy, you would still be able to monetize Indian users. These folks have already done that.
So I'm going to switch stacks now. It's interesting. You're a rare kind of founder because you're bootstrapped. And what was the reason? It was because nobody believed in the story in the early days, or you just didn't want to go around fundraising. What was the reason you chose to stick to the path? I'm assuming after the numbers came, everybody came knocking on your door saying, take a check, take a check. But let's understand that, and then I've got a couple of questions for you all after that.
So I had done a startup in 2014, which was halfteaspoon.com. And one of the co-founder was also mentioned in Saurav's presentation. So local is actually my co-founder's startup. So me and Jani, we were working on halfteaspoon.com at that time. And we were like on the roads delivering things at that time and also raising money at the same time. And that to me was a bit harsh experience. I felt like the operation side was even difficult, and then convincing them for money was even more difficult. So after 6 to 8 months, I just dropped out of that. Okay, I don't want to do this. But again, because I was playing a lot of games, so games grabbed my attention, and I got in deep into games. When I was spending my time in my previous company, 2016, 2015, that is the point where I realized that you don't need money to build a game. All you need is, if you can, like for me and my co-founder, for both of us, we were good enough to build a really big game together. All we needed was a runway of 6 to 8 months. So when we moved out, our thought process was, into 6 to 8 months, we will build something which will bring us $40 a day. That was our benchmark. And 3 months down the line, we were already clocking a lot more revenue than we expected. So our benchmark was too low for ourselves. And that helped us like take a risk and probably just spend time on it. I think that has helped us.
And it's good fun not having somebody
Absolutely.
call you every quarter and say, "Or growth dikhao."
On the other hand, I mean, we are growth obsessed, so we have grown a lot in the last 3 years. I think while rest of the gaming companies across the world have like grown down, we have like kept growing to 40% every year. So yeah, I definitely enjoy that, not having anybody on the back. But I think sometimes it is sometimes you don't have a guardian kind of a setup. I feel somebody just pushing you towards something better. It takes a while to get that knowing.
Rohit, I'm going to take you on something which you said, like the near-death experience caused you to kind of think about this. And Saurabh mentioned in one of his comments that he didn't raise too much money, and that kind of forced him into finding the growth loop and monetization. Any lessons learned for the founders here when it comes to raising too much early on before you, like, do you have any thoughts in hindsight now that you found this sort of mana of life just before you were about to look at the end of the tunnel, and then now you're here? So any thoughts for the folks in the audience?
Yeah, so I'm going to say some very obvious things, and it will like some things that you'll always listen VCs say, but that is kind of true. That you never build a company to raise capital. That was the whole mantra. That was the whole learning. Because in the early days, what we were actually trying to do is, just get some users, maybe build some sort of retention, and we'll raise our next round, and then we'll, become the next Facebook, and then we'll start monetizing. But yeah, you need to ask those hard questions to yourself. That is your business model even allowing you to become a Facebook? So those kind of questions you only ask when you don't really have that kind of a capital. So yeah, when Afsar mentioned about building things in a very grounded way and thinking of a milestone, we also had a very similar milestone. And at the point when we started making revenue, we got back to the stage where we were like, we will operate like a bootstrap company and we don't need capital. And although before that we had heard a no from 150 investors in a span of 6 months, when we decided we don't want to raise, that is when Elevation Capital put in $3 million. So yeah, I think the best way is to build the right business, and yeah, the fundraising will keep happening.
So you seem to have like upwards and to the right, no high.
No. Same similar story actually. When we started monetization at that time, we also didn't have a runway that much. That's why we started
It's not
monetization.
monetization.
I think it is true for a lot of startups.
Basically blow through your
near-death
cash
experience.
raise.
Yes, yes. And actually, after starting monetization, even with good traction, we were not able to raise till 1 year, like
Oh.
because it was a early journey in monetization.
Mm.
So everyone was like, let's wait and watch how it will go. So it is like hard truth that with money you can't crack the things. Even given the option today, like I will also choose bootstrap journey. Somehow I will say logically it fits very well that with money you will have runway, you will hire the teams, you will do the iterations, and you will get the success. But with money you get lot of distractions, and the biggest I will say misconception you get is that VCs are the one who will like who decide that what will work in, like somehow you get the bad learning, bad perception. Second, I will say that you hire the team, and that is also somehow I will say bad thing to crack the good product. So somehow I will say for in my circle, everyone gets at this stage that they didn't have money or they started as a bootstrap, then they are able to crack the market, like product market fit or monetization. Somehow it is very true, like.
Yeah.
But logically, you in your mind it will never fit that it is true.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, second time founders, you always look at another bootstrap and it's like, damn, you get so jealous of a bootstrap founder. The first time founder looks at the fundraise. The second time looks at that. You're a second time founder and you returned your money the first time when it wasn't working out. What went through your mind at that time? Wakao.
Yeah, so definite loss of confidence, right? But I think really enjoyed building something product first. Prior to Wakao, I was with Swiggy for 4 years, Snapdeal for 3 years. So I'd mostly worked in businesses which had large, physical boundary conditions. So for once there was ladka nikla nahi hai ya fir maal khatam ho gaya, like none of those problems were there. So I really wanted to do something product first, and thus I keep telling this to people. Like, I was following the trail of money. Gaming was just one of the things that I wanted to experiment with after Wakao, and I just started out with hiring a bunch of interns and building games, and I realized that actually it's very, very easy to build games with Unity and game engines that are around there. It's actually the distribution today and the game design and the economy design which kind of really separates good from great. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to taste revenue for the first time bootstrapped.
Yeah.
I think when I raised my pre-seed round, we were already doing around 2.5-3 lakhs per month in revenue at zero CAC.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I feel that you get pushed into situations, and that's when you kind of think about making money, and those are the right things that typically happen for the company. Otherwise, you'll always delay the monetization.
Yeah. Yeah, and interesting, you're the only founder. Everybody else has a co-founder here, I'm assuming. Yeah. Only sole founder? Co-founder. 3 co-founders, yeah. So how is that building? You wake up in the middle of the night and pull your hair and then look in the mirror and then go back?
No, I think I just kind of try to I just have to have multiple sounding boards, right? Like I kind of am, if you talk to me, I'll be supremely vulnerable with you that, this is what's happening in my life, tell me, because I just come from a place that, what is it that I don't know, right? And I think thanks to gaming as a space, which I didn't know much about, I think there's always a learning curve. So I have just surrounded myself with enough people whom I can confide in, whom I can learn from, and who can guide me. But yeah, I mean, it is tough being alone, but in a way, it's also until now it's been a rewarding journey. So
yeah, great. And that was my last question. So I'm going to we finished right on time. So thank you for being such great panelists. I'm going to open it up for questions to the audience in case there are any. Yeah, let's start with you first. You went first. You just want to speak up? Yeah. Just introduce yourself, your name, and.
Hi everyone, my name is Brahm. Think of drum with a B. So thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for organizing. So my question is to not anybody in particular, but to the panel. Saurabh also mentioned something in terms of you create a supply that is sticky and people will organically flow towards you, right? But then Sameer talked about so much about generation with AI, and that somehow it removes the barrier to a lot of people who can create faster, right? So create a lot of competition, a lot of content to consume. So then how do you guys manage to still have that stickiness in your content when so many creators are there just to compete with you guys? Thank you.
Guys, whoever wants to answer.
So, as Bisu also highlighted, at least till now, AI is not at a stage that it will just create magic and create something which everyone is going to love. And at least till now, both in creativity as well as learning spaces, it's extremely important to understand what your user wants, and that is definitely not going to be told by AI to you. Of course, you can use AI to make playbooks which are very fast, but that is still a 1 to 10 thing. The 0 to 1 thing is to go out, talk to a lot of users and understand what they actually want, and that's the only way to identify what is going to stick, and that AI can never do for you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think in content, at least what I have realized is there are two types of journeys. One is a solo journey, like things that you'll do alone, watch content or play games. There are games which you can only play alone. By the way, none of our games are multiplayer. And then there are games which inherently are social. I think Afsar's games are they have a bunch of people playing together, right? I think the organic loops are very well set up for things which are social, where there are more people. But for solo journey experiences, I kind of agree with you. It's only getting tougher for organic loops to kick in, right? Because the number of digital first products that are there out there for whatever need state that you have, right? They're only increasing. So actually now it's becoming user acquisition is at the core of your actual TV game. So it totally depends whether you're building a solo journey product or a social experience. Organics for solo journey, you'll have to carve out something which is an absolute niche, which is underserved somewhere for organics to kick in. Otherwise, if even if it's you may say that I'm building something very unique, but what is it competing for attention span with? Our games compete with reels for attention span, right? So those are very difficult to today kick off organically.
Yeah, I think what you're asking is on the distribution side. I feel distribution will still stick around, and some folks will still control the distribution space. What will get commoditized is the creation part of it, and even in creation, I think the 10x benefit will go to people who are 10x more creative, not people who are mediocre. So it's like a 10x engineer becoming a 100x engineer with the codecs and the latest AI models for coding. So it will be similar for creators as well, but the distribution will still be controlled by certain platforms and certain spaces itself.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay. And quick one, I know before I hand back, are you all hiring less? Are you hiring less, firing more? What is your
Not not firing, but one of the principle is to starting this year itself, like we have created a task force for AI itself, just to think, okay, how can we get better at every role that we are doing? Because I fundamentally believe that 2 years from now, companies are going to drastically change. The companies coming out now will operate very, very differently. Their per EBITDA per employee is going to be way, way high.
Yeah, because that's what we are seeing is like companies staying small because engineers are far more productive. People are building 9-7 people companies now. So what about you guys? Like,
Yeah,
I know you also started 3-4 years back, so things have changed.
Like we are hiring less. Even we reduced the team size also. We
So,
were
yeah.
at 350 and now we are around 150. So like lot of things happen with generative AI. I'm not saying that generative AI is replacing creators, or generative AI making something like automation kind of thing. But generative AI actually reduce the TAT actually to get the end output. Like will take the example of one content piece. It used to take around 2 months end to end from thinking the idea to making the end output. Now it takes 1 week. So, and like used to need around 10 people to create the end-to-end output. Now you need around 3 people.
So this 100 plus headcount is on the content side or on the engineering
Overall,
side?
overall,
All across.
yes, in every function. So, like I strongly believe that now going forward, you will be able to make company in lesser people. Like
Yeah. So unless the engineers have ideas to build companies, not too many roles in the existing startups. Rohit, you any comments, and Anurag?
Yeah, so people who are able to take decisions and are creative, they of course stay, and they are our asset in a way, because we don't really have any other asset. But people who are maybe just going to do a lot of redundant work, like there are hundreds of thumbnails, and you have to create the 101th using the same templates. They are obviously not required anymore. And same goes even for creating content. If you were at a point where you were just creating mediocre edited content, that AI is anyway be able to do. So yeah, those kind of people we don't really need anymore. But at the same time, we were never at a stage where we could even start firing, because we are only 50.
People, yeah.
Yeah.
9:15, okay. And you just raised, so I'm assuming you're hiring a little bit.
We are a 20-member team, so we're definitely not firing.
Okay. Got it. So, okay, I'll hand it back to the audience. So, let's start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Niket. I'm building a professional network called Medium, and we have like 80K mouse. We recently started monetizing. I have a two-part question. One is that we have been paying for YouTube, Netflix, on UPI autopay, credit card or payments for so long. So why is this negative feeling in the media and everywhere else growing up when your apps clearly say that after the trial, and even when you go on the apps, right, phone pay, etc., it says that after this period, this much money will be deducted in Hindi, English, and so many languages, right? So one is around UPI autopays and what will be the future of it, since there's so much negativity around it, despite so much education and such clear messaging. And the second part is that since I have not seen any example in India, do you think hard paywall apps might work out in India? And if so, have you seen any examples? But yeah, mostly these two questions. Two specifically, Bisu and Rohit.
so first one. I will say in India, this is the first time after UPI that we got this ecosystem of autopay. Before this, there was no ecosystem even for digital payments. Then UPI started for this transaction kind of digital payment, and then autopay also. Same thing happened in US 20 years back. Like they had credit cards and all these things, and everyone even today also using these things for autopay. In India, actually, even after educating people that this is autopay, you are showing them like on your app, or even PhonePe is doing good job. Even UPI, NPCI also doing a lot of advertisement that how autopay works. Even after that, there are 2-3% users who ignore all these messaging and they just do the transaction. And when they get surprised that their money is deducted from their account, then they get pissed off. And then they spread they will come to Play Store and they will say that how you can cut my money. If you see the US journey, it happened same. Like there are also a lot of people who don't remember that they are on autopay, and same thing will happen in India also. I think there will be like 10-15% people will be always there who will not remember, but after 2-3 months they will remember and they will cancel the autopay. But you need this ecosystem for subscription kind of business, and this is not only content. Like there are a lot of subscription kind of business. They need this kind of ecosystem, and I think if you check the numbers, that how easy to cancel your subscription and how easy to subscribe, then and if you see the renewal and all these numbers, then Indian UPI ecosystem is doing much better job than your credit card. Actually, credit card is very difficult to cancel. UPI is very easy to cancel. So overall, I will say it is going in positive direction, and lot of people are already educated, but there is still, I will say, big mass to get educated on this ecosystem.
Yeah, to your first question, as Bisu mentioned, this is just the start, and with every new development, which is really huge, of course, there comes some sort of friction, uh, and yeah, that is going to evade away, and it's almost going to become what credit card auto pay is across the world. So yeah, that's on the first question. Bisu had already spoken. On the second question, I would say that even Netflix for the longest time had a free trial. हम 1 रुपया तो ले रहे हैं, वो तो एक भी नहीं ले रहा था, फिर भी मैंडेट हो रहा था. So, and for most of the apps that you'll see earlier, when they were trying to, they're in a growth phase, and lesser people knew about them. Obviously, they gave a free trial. Now Netflix can of course afford to not give that, but they have to come back to maybe launch lower plans or whatever. But yeah, that's not really something of a real concern. I would say it's a trial kind of a model is a very widespread model. In fact, people across the world are tracking the download to trial and the trial to paid ratios, and you'll get a lot of reports there around that. So yeah, I think it's not really a concern, and we are at a great place. And if you're really looking to use this ecosystem, then you should not be afraid.
For two more questions. So yeah, we can go to all the way to the back. The gentleman, but that all the way to the back. You are the guy who. Yeah, you only. You won. You can just like boom up.
Hi everyone, my name is Heather, and I was bootstrapping a company in live teaching, live online education, but I've stopped doing it now. But thanks for the insightful panel and for sharing your journeys, all the founders. I have a question about the advent of Gen AI and how it's going to transform some of the things, especially in the content space. So from what I'm seeing, two of the companies seem to be more content heavy, and the other two, which are about gaming, are more about experience. I mean, this is my reading, it might be false also. I was wondering, we all know Gen AI is going to improve the generation of content, and that's going to, there will be less of a human aspect involved, and there will be more of supply of content for these apps. But how is going to be the experience? How is the experience going to be leveraged? I mean, AI going to be leveraged for improving the experience? Have you also thought about that? So content is one piece. But what about the experience of these apps? Have you thought about how you're going to leverage AI for improving the experience of user experience? Thanks.
Yeah, so of course, there is two parts to it actually. For a content company, content is actually the experience, which is essentially the truth that Bisu might have also. Actually, we realized that together while I was still at Kuku. So it becomes extremely important that how do you enhance the quality of content using AI. Of course, maybe UX ke bare mein, the gaming guys can talk even better. But there are a lot of levers through which we can actually enhance the quality of content. And the best thing that we can do already, that we are already doing, is iterating a lot on that content, and that ability we get from Gen AI. And a lot of iteration gives us the ability to test things very fast, and that is essentially how we are able to improve the quality of the content, which is a very different angle to looking at experience of the product. But yeah, that is one way, by doing very quick iterations to the content, that you can actually improve the experience of the user. But yeah, I'll leave on to Afsar maybe to tell more about experience.
So first, I don't think experience and content are different in gaming also. I feel gaming is all about content. At the end, I was talking about villages earlier. Village is the content that the user is chasing for. If the village doesn't look beautiful, I don't like it. I don't want to play anymore. So I think that treadmill of content gets unlocked with Gen AI, where you can generate more and more such content that the user is ready to consume. Till now, there was a gap between what we could produce as a game makers versus what the user was consuming. I was talking to one of my team members today. We are generating in one of the games. We are creating 60 levels per week right now, and I was telling him, boss, this is not going to work. If you want to really capture the spend depth of your whale players, you need 300 levels per week at least, which means from 60 to 300, and you cannot operate by probably expanding your team to like 20 people just creating levels. That's not the right way of doing it. We were just discussing, okay, how do we do this through Gen AI? If we are able to do that, the level of unlock that you're going to get is those 300 levels could become 500 levels tomorrow. And the spend depth is directly proportional to the levels you are producing at the end of the week itself. So for gaming also, the content is the experience. There is nothing different about it. I think people confuse between, okay, if the Ludo game is present, I am replaying the same level, it's quite easy to create a Ludo game. No, it's not. Because the user after playing 5 games want different stuff to compete. They want, okay, where is my leaderboard? Why is the leaderboard different? Where is my new quest? What do I complete today? Today is Holi. Can I create today? Can I complete my Holy dice that the game has offered? If the Holy dice is complete, okay, I want to complete one more dice today. So it is very, very different. I mean, we get confused with the very basic stuff that, okay, game are replayable, but I think gaming has gone way beyond replayability in that manner. Now you need to offer a lot more content, and the best in the best gaming companies across the world are treating it like a content treadmill at the end.
That's a great note to wrap up on. Thank you so much, everyone. And the founders will be around after this in case you want to grab them for more questions. But thank you for being such an amazing audience and giving those questions. And thank you all for being such great panelists.
We're here outside.
Thank you.